the water table to our soils to the atmosphere itself, our world is becoming more and more toxic each and every day. But it's not just the air outside that's toxic. Indoor air has been shown to have 2 to 5 times higher concentrations of pollutants than even outdoor air. And most Americans spend 90% of their time inside using toxic chemicals within their homes. There are more than 42 million smokers in the United States. Well over 1,000 types of mold and mildew linked to numerous conditions. And don't forget the fact that 6 million Americans live with pets they're allergic to as well. When I began to research these statistics, it was clear to me it was time to start cleansing my lungs in order to combat the toxic environment that we cannot escape, but that we can fight back against. Made with organic and wild cultivated herbs and manufactured in the USA, the new InfoWars Life Lung Cleanse is here in a convenient spray bottle that can be brought with you throughout any toxic environment. Now available exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. The globalist social engineers are not just targeting us with propaganda. They are manipulating our genetics. We are being targeted at every level by estrogen mimickers that lower our testosterone and other hormones and natural compounds that the body needs. After consulting top doctors, nutritionists, pharmacists, and others, we have developed what I believe is the ultimate non-GMO organic super male vitality formula sourced from powerful organic herbs and then concentrated for maximum potency. Super Male Vitality was developed to activate your body's own natural processes instead of using synthetic chemicals. Super Male Vitality by InfoWars Life is so powerful that I only take half the recommended dose. For a limited time, we are offering 15% off Super Male Vitality at InfoWarsLife.com to introduce you to this powerful supplement. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality at InfoWarsLife.com. Alex Jones here to tell you about how you can help spread liberty worldwide while also enjoying what I have found to be the best tasting 100% organic coffee on the planet. For more than a decade, my favorite coffee has come from the high mountains of southern Mexico, where the Chiapas farmers grow their unique shade-grown Arabica beans. We have now managed to secure these sought-after beans in a highly customized blend. Discover and try a bag of the Patriot Blend 100% organic coffee at InfoWarsLife.com. This coffee gives you a long, smooth pick-me-up for hours without the headaches and heartburn that so many other coffees give me personally. Hands down, this is my favorite coffee, and it's taken us years to secure connections directly to the Chiapas Mexican farmers. Drop by the site today, order a bag or two, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Available in original or with our Immune Support Infusion Blend. You will be supporting a free press, all the while enjoying a truly great-tasting cup of my favorite coffee. Available at InfoWarsLife.com.
We now take you live to the Central Texas Command Center in the heart of the resistance. It's Alex Jones.
Ron Paul has been accused of being a Russian agent by Neocon Media and people known to be in the CIA. I've been accused of that because I'm against starting a war, overthrowing a government, and taking us to the brink of nuclear war when the Russians are not in an offensive mode. And, you know, we've got a guest on, Peter Van Buren, and I would call him a classical liberal, but a lot of folks would call him a real liberal. And then you've got people on the left that want to have all these wars and have made it a left-wing cause celeb to attack Russia and brought in, you know, all this gay stuff. Hey, get that out of the way, folks. That's not an excuse for World War III. But the point is, it's about who knows the facts. Who knows the history of Ukraine? Who knows what's going on there? Who knows the larger chessboard? And the fact that this is completely immoral, and it's not in the interest of the American people. It's in the interest of big banks and the EU that wants to be bailed out again, and politicians and political classes that love crises and love managing them. They have a stake in a destabilized world. So there's a lot of people that work for the CIA, the State Department, the FBI, you name it, domestically, foreign, who do mean well, but they're compartmentalized. And then you've got the corporate agents and I'm not demonizing business in general, but the big corporate interest that don't care about the interest of people or their own children, for that matter. They want that money and that status now. And they will bring the world to the brink of total collapse as economic hitmen that John Perkins exposed. He was one of them, to get their power. They're wreckers. And I liken this analogy to every culture's had wreckers. But if you go back 300 years ago in England, down off the coast, by the English Channel, they would have lighthouses, firehouses. And during fog, different cities, different towns would shut up a fire to bring ships in and wreck them, because of salvage laws would let them then go out in the morning and steal whatever's on the boat when the crew dies or the crew comes into shore. And that's what vulture capitalism is you just wreck everything. You use government to shut down your competition, to shut down mom and pops. And I'm ranting. I want to get some comments from our guest on how we stop this, where his gut tells him this is going to go, studying these people, and how he thinks we can maybe try to get America's soul back and not try to be villains, not try to have an elite that think it's cool to be crooks, and then lose America's soft power that people like John F. Kennedy had. So 5 more minutes, Peter Van Buren, thank you for joining us. And then briefly, tell us about your new book at the end. But you've got the kind of the gestalt I've thrown out there.
It's a very difficult question to answer, because what has happened over the course of the last 50 years is almost a snowballing effect of concentrations of power. The new power resides in the hands of the corporate interests that you've discussed, and it's a little different. They're not interested in conquering land per se, or in being able to tell people in foreign lands how to live per se. They're interested primarily in acquiring wealth, capital, and money. And if that means conquering lands, well, sure, that's something that has to be done. By snowball effect, I mean that through the manipulation of the tax system, they get to hold on and grow their money, and at the same time use that money to fund politicians, to make people beholden to them, to create new laws and new policies that can keep the game in play. Ukraine started over a question, the crisis, if you will, in Ukraine started over a question of which economic bloc Ukraine was going to join. Was it going to join EU, and which by proxy includes the United States, or was it going to cleave towards Russia? Both sides, the Russians and particularly on the EU side, said to the Ukraine, this is a one-way trip. You pick us or you pick them. You're either with us or against us, forcing the Ukrainians in between these two large economic forces. If anyone out there can articulate exactly what America's reasons for being involved in Ukraine are, absent the desire to capture that market and control the economy, I'd be very interested to hear from them what exactly those interests are.
Very well said. And from what I've experienced, this is where you get World War I, World War II. This is where you get, I mean, all historians are saying that, is when you get disconnected elites that aren't even so much arrogant. I mean, they are arrogant and hubris-filled, but they're disconnected from the ground, like Marie Antoinette let them eat cake in the Bastille, and they push people over the edge because they're so insulated. I mean, John Corzine could make 40-to-1 bets with other people's money, steal billions, and then not even get in trouble for it. The IRS won't go after billionaires that don't pay taxes. I mean, they really feel insulated because no one has ever stopped them. And I think they have a form of, to be a psychologist, narcissistic megalomania that we see triggering massive empire collapses. And I just hope that other sectors of the establishment who aren't psychopathic or mentally ill get involved to stop the establishment before they completely wreck everything.
My fingers are crossed that you're right, but my concern is that there may not be an immediate way to slow this down, certainly not an immediate way to bring it to a stop. Greed is such a powerful motivator, and these folks have figured out a way that they can pull money out of the lower classes, the 99%, and pull it into their own pockets. People who complain about, well, wealth income distribution or wealth redistribution is something awful, communism or what have you, don't seem to mind when that redistribution is going up. They only seem to object when it goes down. And this is the situation we're facing here in the United States that, as you mentioned, reminds me far, far too much of what we saw prior to World War I that created that inevitable march into war and the destruction that took place, even while a lot of people profited from it.
I agree with you, and it's just chilling to then see the establishment digging in with all the COG and bunkers. And even having the Pentagon put out report after report the last 8-9 years, we could survive a nuclear war. We could start using tactical nukes routinely. You know, nukes are kind of fun. I mean, I've never heard such crazy talk.
The last time I heard the crazy talk was when I watched a movie called Dr. Strangelove. It was made during the Cold War, and it featured people in the military and politicians talking about how they would live in specially prepared bunkers and reproduce to repopulate the Earth. Now, that was allegedly a comedy, a satire, but you're reaching for a point where a certain small number of people, and we use the term 1% as almost a shorthand, are controlling so much that what happens to everyone else is really of little consequence to them. They're interested in capital. And I hesitate to mention that once upon a time in America's history, capital included human beings, slaves, who were owned the same way that you own machines or property or factories and treated with just as much callousness.
That's right. Well, they use NSA fixing systems worldwide now on record to game the stock markets. It's all fake, to never let people get ahead. And then they blame private property and capitalism for this, when this isn't capitalism. It's total, pure monopoly capitalism, vulture capitalism, rigged. It's a totally rigged casino. And since it's rigged, we either remove this system or they're going to end up destroying everyone. And I go back to Dr. Strangelove, where they're talking about, well, sir, you know, we'll have to have a 10-to-1 female-male ratio, and animals will have to be bred and slaughtered. And, of course, Mr. President, we cannot allow a mine shaft gap. And then you learn that Dr. Strangelove, because I've talked to the Kubrick family, his daughter, you know, he got visited by the CIA and stuff over that movie. Like, how did you know all that from his sources? General Jack T. Rippers, Curtis LeMay, that wanted to have a nuclear war with the Russians. The Bland Corporation is the RAND Corporation. Plan R was a real RAND Corporation plan saying, let's have a nuclear war. This would be good.
I was tempted to do the imitation of Dr. Strangelove myself, but thank you for being...
where he grabs his arm and he goes, ah, yeah. Well, you know, that's based on some real people they had advising the Pentagon. I'm telling you, this is so crazy.
You're reaching for a 0 point. What you've got now are two lines that used to be out here between the wealthy and powerful and the rest of us that are heading towards a 0 point. That 0 point, which gratefully is still in the distance right now, is that Strangelovian future, that nuclear exchange, that complete abandonment of concern for all of us. We're not there yet, but I'm afraid that it's out there in our future, out there in the distance, unless we start to speak up, unless we start to push back, unless we start to say that 99% of us are a lot more than you, and you've got the money, but you still don't have us. You can buy our labor, you can buy our homes, but you can't yet buy our souls. And that's something we're going to hold on to, and that's what's going to give us a little bit of chance to stop that 0 point from happening.
And they also confuse everything. Like, they parade communists around when people talk about 99%, and then that's being Soros funded, to then discredit the real movement, pointing out the 99.999% is being gamed. Then they use racism to divide everybody. I mean, it is so scientific. But the elite have to understand the world they build has blowback. They will never escape the nightmare they're building. I mean, there could be 100 of these people left. They'll start trying to kill each other in one of their, you know, underground bases or whatever to try to have total control. They'll never put this back in the bottle unless they decide to put it back in the bottle. And I think it's up to us to publicly break with them, call them out, educate people about how the world really works. And I think there's a human instinct to survival. And I hope sane minds prevail. But, you know,